Welcome to Agency Bytes, a podcast for agency owners, hosted by agency veteran and coach Steve Guberman. Agency Bytes is a podcast focused on delivering actionable agency information from agency experts in about 25 minutes. Why 25 minutes? Because who has the attention span for much more these days? And you can squeeze in a listen between meetings with time for a bathroom break or coffee refill before your next meeting.
This episode of Agency Bytes is brought to you by Ignition, the platform agencies use to stop chasing invoices, kill scope creep, and get paid on time every time. With branded proposals and automated billing and payments all in one place, Ignition helps you boost cash flow and scale without the admin chaos. Start getting paid on time at ignitionapp.com. Use code OUTSIGHT25 to save 50% off on monthly Pro or Pro Plus plans.
Welcome back to Agency Bytes. I'm your host, Steve Guberman from Agency Outsight, where I coach agency owners to build the business of their dreams. This week, I'm joined by Kirstin Russ. She's a seasoned business strategist with more than 30 years of experience and the founder of two companies, Principal Edge AI, where she helps businesses leverage artificial intelligence to automate growth and boost profitability, and Mountains to Sea Media, her digital marketing agency in North Carolina. What Kirstin makes stand out is how she blends AI with proven marketing strategies to help businesses work smarter and see results faster. And I'm super grateful to have you today, Kirstin. How are you?
I'm good, Steve. How are you doing?
Pretty awesome, thanks. So, two businesses, that's probably not too much of a headache. Give me kind of the rundown on the businesses and I know one is fairly new, but you've been running Mountains to Sea for a while. Give kind of the story on the agencies.
Yeah. So Mountains to Sea is a digital marketing agency. I sort of started it. My wheelhouse is strategy and project management. So I set everything up so that I outsource the execution part. It's for a couple different reasons. One, I don't have to carry a big payroll and still have expertise. And two, because I don't think this marketing space is so noisy right now, it's hard for anybody to be really good at more than one or two things. And I think to really provide the client with, a high quality, holistic program takes a few people. So that is set up, again, intentionally as an outsource model. It'll be 4 years old in October officially, although I've been in the marketing agency space for a really long time. And basically I deal with primarily B2B and service-based businesses, and they're usually, I think they're still considered SMBs, but I think for a lot of them, it would feel big for me. They're, 5 million to 50 million in size usually. And so again, been in that space for a while. I look at a project holistically. I'm a generalist at heart anyway, so I want to understand the whole business and how everything works together. And I also have some operational background myself, so that sort of lends to me wanting to understand that part of the business as well. And ultimately, I think for a strategy development, that's a great way to do it because, again, everything has to fit together, especially in the smaller businesses. There's a lot of people wearing a lot of different hats, and there's frequently no delineation between a lot of the areas. So I like that. The AI agency sort of evolved from that. It's technically a DBA under the marketing agency because I just wanted to be able to talk about AI separately. Mm-hmm. But at this point really services the same clients because some of this AI work spun out of existing clients. I've spent about a year in some intensive AI studying in cohorts and developing, and now have a couple actual tools out there in the wild. So that's been a fun next step, fun iteration. I think it allows it allows another layer of somebody's business growth.
Yeah. So we're in a space, I think we just hit last week or the week before was 1,000 days since ChatGPT was released. It's set at least our industry on fire. I know, a million other industries are also, having massive adaptation and chaos as a result of AI. staffing and legal and accounting, and every SaaS platform has integrated some BS AI tool that is probably of no help anyway.
Right.
But from an agency standpoint, I've seen there's 4 different levels of adoption, we'll say. There's like the denial aisle route where and I think it's owners they've been in business 20, 30 years. They're like, this is how we've always done it. They're probably the same folks that are like, you've got to be in the office every day, or I don't think you're actually working, or like, the kind of old school mindset. And if they don't have like a young team that's like, hey, boss, we've got to do this, then they're probably looking at a cliff coming real fast at them. The second is like that kind of curious, like, yeah, we can use it for something. We don't know what it's going to do. We don't know how to embrace it. The third is like they're embracing it internally. They're building their own automations for themselves. When that happens. And that goes back to like the if this, then that platform that I think was like one of the first, and then, Zapier. And so they're kind of dabbling with it. And so maybe they've built their own automations to streamline. But the fourth is where you're at, where it's like, how do I turn this into a service? Sell this to my clients to give them solutions to their problems and monetize AI. And I think that agencies that are in that, from the third moving into the fourth, but definitely in that fourth like zone, we'll call it, that's like who's really going to thrive. And I'm seeing a lot of shops doing that, doing like AI consulting for their clients of like, oh, what is your problem? Is it customer journey? Is it customer acquisition? Is it, CRO problems? Or whatever the problem is, how do we use AI to solve it? And that's where you're at. And that puts you eons ahead of the, lower 2.5-ish zones of agencies that are probably not going to be around in, I don't know, a year, 2 years. Like it's happening so fast, right? So talk about like that adaptation for you to say, all right, I need to get into the space and learn some tools and sell some solutions to clients.
Honestly, when I started the whole, extra, classes and learning and groups and whatnot, it was to get ahead. So whatever-ish, a year ago or so. Using ChatGPT kind of since the beginning, but really getting into understanding how to build my own agents, how to string them together, how to make, full automations work. That was about a year ago. And at that point, it was to get ahead. And then I looked up like 6 months later, and it was really about to survive. Because yes, our industry is getting incredibly disrupted. And I think sometimes rightfully so. I just saw an article yesterday about, I think it was in the AI Ready CMO. It was that newsletter, and it was talking about how the marketing industry is no longer hiring junior people to do.
Yep.
But it was also interesting the take on what the junior people were doing, because it wasn't really, none of it was really valuable stuff. It was reading a press release, proofing stuff, or, probably getting coffee for people. So it's, I think that I get the whole, sometimes it's almost hazing, right? Like, oh my gosh, I went through this part, so you have to go through this part, as valuable as it is or isn't. So what I like about AI is that I think it allows, I am certainly human first in it. I've, played with it enough and had it do enough things wrong that it doesn't stand on its own. In my view, it is intended to allow people to do the higher value things. So it takes over the task. It's a lot of task driven things that it can do. Some of the stuff that I use it for internally that takes a huge weight off my shoulder is research. I have, I don't know, half a dozen agents built for like the whole sort of client research flow, where you're doing ICP research and buyer journey and trends and opportunities and roadmaps. I have a different agent set up for that, so I can do run this whole, set to get an output. And even chatting against the agents, I can run that whole thing probably in a couple of hours and have that entire client overview, where before, if I had to do that research by hand, and then fill in your other work, you're looking at a week or two before you get finished. So I think there's a couple of things. I was thinking about this analogy this morning as well. Part of the value in AI is not just in making things faster. it's in the breaking things and putting them back together a different way. So one of the analogies that people use a lot is when we went from horse and buggy to cars, right? Like people didn't want a faster horse. They got a car instead, which is a completely different solution and, benefit to the same issue. And I think that's where we're going to really start to see more power in the AI. I mean, I think a lot of us are using it right now just to do things faster. I am too.
Yeah.
But I think when we figure out how we can, again, just rework systems to make them even more efficient and not necessarily just faster, I think it's gonna unlock some of the power. And I know everyone's heard about the MIT study that said, 95% of the AI projects are not working right now. And I think that's what you and I were talking about really at the top of the hour, is structure. I think people don't have, and it's forcing me to do the same thing too, right? Put some more structure in my business so that then the AI can actually use it. There's, I think, an IBM commercial out right now that talks about, but our data is here, it's in the cloud and it's in the iPad and it's here. And the AI person is like, yeah, and the AI can't use it. So
Right.
I think that's part of what we're all learning, is that those projects didn't work probably because they were pushed. A board member somewhere said, you have to use AI. A CEO said, we have to figure out how to use AI. And they just pushed it from the top. And I think there's a whole lot of change management that has to happen. People are afraid of losing their jobs. There's a lot going on that isn't being managed in the implementation level. And then again, there's a lot of structure that isn't in place to allow the systems to access what they need to really be good at what you want them to do.
Manual billing, late payments, scope creep. If your agency's revenue is leaking, Ignition can help. It automates proposals, billing, and payments in one platform, so you close deals faster and spend less time chasing money. Simplify billing and get paid faster at ignitionapp.com. Use code OUTSIGHT25 to save 50% off on monthly Pro or Pro Plus plans.
Yeah. I think there's some really cool, simple stuff that people have been doing. Like for me, my calls are all transcribed using an app called Crisp. And then that has an AI agent built into it, so it can give me a follow-up email and it can remind me of things down the road. And I built something that automates its integration into my CRM. So if I look you up in my CRM and we had calls, the transcripts are right there, and some like points from the calls are there and things like that. But I think the big lift stuff is really fascinating to me. And that thing you talked about from MIT, that 95% of projects don't even like work or see the light of day. And the ones that are really like moving mountains and like, cancer research and like big heavy lifting stuff, traffic patterns and crime patterns. And like, that's like, I'm all for that kind of stuff. I do have two fears, and they're kind of minor from like the marketing industry standpoint. One, you mentioned about junior talent, and I'm seeing this already start to happen in agencies where if they're not bringing on a junior bench to train in, 3 to 5 years, they're going to have a massive talent gap. And so in small agencies, it's not a big deal. But if you, 15, 20 people and above, if you're not grooming junior talent to get coffee and, organize the magazines in the office or whatever, like who's going to be the next creative director in 10 years? That's going to be a massive problem. The other one that we see time and time again is if all the content online starts to be created by robots and the robots are reading the content online, now we have this incestual loop of robot created and inspired content. And that's very scary. And it's words and images and videos. And so, to me, that last part is very scary.
So I want to talk on the junior talent, because that's kind of, yes, we have to have it. I mean, everybody has to have this, learning in the industry time. But I think that's the whole point too of it's human first, right? Like the AI isn't now anyway doing anything really all by itself. So why don't we have that junior talent who maybe we're training them to work with the AI systems? Maybe that's what the junior part of it is. And it's less about the menial things that really are not. I mean, I'm huge on, again, it's the AI should be doing the things that people can do but don't have to do, to free the people up to do higher value things.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe just puts the junior, we're giving them it's just a different start point for them. And then to your point about content, that is I don't know how that's going to shake out, because I actually have an AI content assist tool, and most of what I've built so far is to solve a problem for me or for a client. I don't have really anything that's just sort of, hey, let's see if this works. But this I built because I need to generate content. I need thought leadership content from my business owners or, higher level people in business, because they have it all in their brains. It's all tribal knowledge that is not anywhere except their heads. And they're not going to write it. I can't write it because it's not my knowledge. They're not going to write it. So the intention is that I get them to record it. I'd like 3 to 5 minutes on however you want to record it, on your phone, send it to me in our Otter, however you want to do it. And then I've done a whole lot of work up front. So I've got some knowledge-based items that are, some writing directions for the blog post, but the customized work is a lot of brand voice work. So there's, some things that sit in the knowledge base that the writer can access to, or the writer has to access to write the blog. And so we start
so it knows the client's tone of voice, the client's brand, and it can, okay, yeah.
It's basically that. It's brand voice, tone and style guide, and ICPs. So research came out that showed that the LLMs do a better job of writing when they know who they're talking to. And I think that's a part of what we're all learning and how we prompt. Now, a lot of people give them a role. You are a, top marketing strategist, or you are a top writer, whatever it is. I think that gives the LLM some context and helps it get going. So it knows who it's writing to. And it uses literally the system instructions for the agents say the audio recording is the holy grail. Do not make things up. Do not, add things. So I have a research agent, whose only job really is to take that information that is in the audio and just find supporting facts. So we have some footnotes and, like, this is educational, this is factual. And then from there, it's just writing and making sure that there's a couple of QA checks to make sure it's done right. So ultimately, that is AI writing fed by thought leadership. And I think that's the hard part. And you're right, too, because on the SEO front, we're all now trying to figure out how to make sure that the LLMs are pulling up our information. So it is a little scary, but it's at least we still have, I think the separating information that's coming out is still thought leadership. It still needs to be unique and real case studies and first person. And
yep. And I think that's different. And I've done that. And I've had friends show me, like, here's how you can have your agent ask you the right questions so that you're speaking into it and, it's prompting you, but it's still coming from me and my brain and my heart. You know what I mean? It's not like, write me a 1,000-word article on fill in the blank. That's the part that scares me, that the laziness, I think, is going to get to that. I hope it doesn't, but that scares me. And as people want to lean more and more into efficiencies, does it turn into, I'm relying on this robot to do everything for me? And whether that's professionals or kids in school and they're not able to think for themselves. And, so I'm the first to admit I'm not a great writer. I don't love writing, but I know there's a difference between what I can come up with and what AI can come up with. And so I'd rather it be from me, not great, than here's this super polished thing because that's just not who I am anyway. I'm going to throw in an F-bomb here and there, and I'm going to use analogies from my world of gardening and fishing and yoga and whatever. And sure, you can train it for that, but I'm afraid that efficiencies are going to be chasing profit more than quality of work, right? And so I think that's a concern. I'm all for profit, and if I can, I don't know, replace 6 people and pare it down to 3 with some really talented prompt engineering and really talented, junior talent and things like that. Now I've increased my profitability in my business. Am I sacrificing the quality of work for so much profit? And so there's a dance there that needs to happen, and those efficiencies of automations are beautiful, but Is there a sacrifice for it? And again, big concerns, blaring red alarms everywhere on some of this stuff.
True. And I don't have the answers, obviously. And I think that none of us do. It's been interesting just, again, since I've been in it, pretty hardcore, like the last year, just watching the evolution, because it is fast. I have on my screen, I think I have 10 tabs pulled up for like new tools that I saw referenced today, because I want to at least look at them, which is sort of another point. There's a whole lot of discussion around the tools and how to, you can't get buried in the tools because there are 100 new ones every day.
Yeah.
And so it's more about, again, it's the infrastructure and the structure and the things that you have in place, because a lot of the tools do the same things, just have a different name, maybe, one different spin. And I think we should certainly find the ones that work for us, and they're going to be different. I mean, even my AI build partner, we use a different tech stack to a degree. I'm not really the tech person, so it doesn't matter so much what I use, but he has his tech stack, and that's what he wants to use, and that's what he's comfortable with, and that's what he uses. And I think that's where we all have to get, because I love shiny objects, and they're very distracting, and that happens with all of these things. So for a while, I mean, there's a time period that I don't read these newsletters at all because I need to not be distracted. But yeah, I think it's more, all of this is more foundational, and we have to be paying attention to just, how you build an agent is going to be the same no matter what platform you are deploying your agents in. So I think there's that fundamental level, and then there's, oh my gosh, maybe this tool will do everything for me, and they never do everything they say they're going to do.
Right. Yeah. So think two thoughts. One is, you've done this DBA, Practical Edge AI, in order to monetize AI for your business. Have you found success in that? Have you found clients that are like, yeah, I need that, I'll pay for that? And because the other side of the coin that I'm seeing is, we can figure out AI ourselves. Why would we pay you for it? So what's the strategy there, and how has it panned out for you?
So we have a couple projects that we've actually done and delivered. They are operational. So they were basically replacing processes that were incredibly manual. If anybody uses Square as their inventory system, they probably are aware that it's an interesting platform and has some odd setups. So we have, and it's not end to end yet. We're building a section of a workflow that can have more put on the beginning and more put on the end if they decide to do it. But basically, it's taking them from doing manual input of when something comes in, and then because they do wholesale to retail, so there's this internal, like, I have to lose a case, and if it's going from wholesale to retail, I have to lose it I have to transfer it as a case from wholesale to retail. Then I have to lose the case and have to gain the per items. So that whole process was manual. So we have, and here's part of what is super important, and we learned quickly on this job. The discovery call is like the most important thing you could ever do. And if it takes you 3 hours to do it, you should do the 3 hours, because you get in this and they didn't tell you steps, or you didn't ask enough questions to get the steps. And then, so this project we thought was going to be a 15-step flow is now 45.
Wow.
Yeah. So learning curve for sure. But ultimately it will save them probably 5 hours a week. And which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's not just saving you 5 hours, it's 5 hours you're doing something else with.
Right.
Another one was a quote tool. That's a similar thing. They have to go out. It's a waterproofing company. They have to go out and look at buildings and, measure the building square footage, the windows, that kind of thing. And so we just built a form. So for the people in the field doing the measuring, literally all they have to do is put the information into the form. Just walk through it on their phones, even pretty easy. Next iteration of that would be if we can get the phone to do the measurement. That's a little bit harder. LiDAR helps, but it's a little bit harder when you get a certain distance away. So anyway, and then that just maps to give them a proposal and like their internal documents so they can see the margins and whatnot. So part of that's really just automation. The money part is just the mapping into their spreadsheet. And then the only AI part is the client ready proposal. And then I've got some like the AI thought tool. I want to try to figure out how to productize it. It's a little manual right now with all of that like brand voice work up front, but I think that's the separator and what makes it different than a lot of the other similar tools that are out there. So I don't know how necessarily. I'm sure I can automate that. It's a lot more work to automate that whole process than the writing part. So yes, some real projects that are helping people, and again, those came from existing clients. Just because I was already in discussions, I heard pain points.
Were they cool with you kind of learning on their dime, or did you present like, oh, I've been doing this for 1,000 years and I already know it and I can whip this up for you? Or were you like, hey, we want to try something. You're the guinea pig. We think we can save you time and money if we do this.
So I think the quote tool, I think we probably had a fair price, market value. We knew it was early for us and they knew it was early for us. So we could probably charge more now. The Square tool, we totally undershot it. We probably should have charged 5x what we charged. So yeah, totally learning. And, the client got a little edgy at one point because we were running behind, partly because the developer is spending time in forums trying to figure out how to do the things that Square doesn't want you to figure out how to do.
Right.
So yeah, that was a huge learning experience. And I had when he was a little edgy, I just had to remind him that if we charge for this project knowing what we know now, it would be 5x what he's paying. So at some point you have to say, okay.
And that's the same as how it was, 20 years ago when we were all trying to figure out how much to charge for a website, and it was the Wild West, and it was like, what can I get away with? What's the perceived value from the client? And here it's what's the perceived value of the time that we're going to save you and what you can do with that time and the efficiencies we're going to create for you. And we don't know how long it's going to take us, but we're going to figure it out. And so we might not be super profitable, but look at all this money we made and look at what we've learned along the way. And it's very much Wild West, making money off AI right now. And so I think that from that standpoint, it's super exciting. But you're learning on the client's time and dime, which cool. Why not?
Yeah. And again, I think, as long as they know, as long as everyone's fortunately have a really good relationship with that client. And, he's like, we go have a beer every so often. So, it's like, have that conversation with him.
Perfect. I love it. I love the direction you're going. I'm super pumped for you. I think, kicking the tires on some of these AI models you're building. People should go check out practicaledge.ai and learn more about what you're building and how you're helping clients find solutions with AI. I think more agencies need to move in that direction. I'm concerned for the cliff that's coming very fast at a lot of agencies. To wrap up, I want to throw a couple random rapid fire questions at you that have very little to do with AI. So the first is, if you could only use 3 apps on your phone for a week, which 3 would they be?
Funny enough, I use the weather app a lot. Probably ChatGPT that I dig some. Perplexity is probably my favorite right now. I just haven't put it on my phone yet. And what else do I use a lot on my phone? Maybe ESPN.
Okay, nice. I dig that. What's one aha moment that you've had recently in your business?
So I mentioned that I'm a generalist. I'm also a big DIY-er. So sort of it's been several over the last, I don't know, year or so, maybe not one massive one, but I cannot do it all. I cannot
do it all. And there's more to that. And therefore I need to delegate. I need to build a system. I need somebody to do these other things. Yeah, that's a freedom aha moment for a lot of entrepreneurs.
It is. And it's a little scary because it's letting go. And then you realize how much of a control freak you really are. But it's also the thing that's forcing me to have some more structure in place. I mentioned that I outsource things. I might have a client where I have 3 or 4 outsourced people or teams. And I found that I'd get the client, and part of my onboarding was I would send a separate email to each one of those teams. And I'm like, this is dumb. So I do a master sheet now in Google Drive. I share it because I think it matters that each of them knows what else is happening also, not just what their world is. But I share it. I send one email out, one link to the sheet. It has everybody's information on it. That sounds kind of lame, but that's a big time saver.
Yep. I love it. And then finally, if your agency had a theme song, every time you walked in the office, it would play on a loudspeaker. What would it be?
Walkout song. I had one in my head last week and I don't remember. Man, that's a really good question. I wasn't prepared for that one. I'm gonna have to think on it. I feel I used to know music really well. I am so terrible at the new artists and the newer music.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. All good. I think music catches people off guard. They're either like, I've asked what's your go-to karaoke song. People are like, I don't sing karaoke, or, things like that. So my current song is, it's called Backup Plan. It's a country song. I can't remember who sings it. Bailey Westbrook and somebody else. And it's like, there's no giving up. Get the haters out of your brain. Like, focus on, the only backup plan is getting back up, kind of thing. Wow. And I'm all for that. So,
love it.
Yeah, you'll have to get back to me.
Yeah, I have to check that one out too, because I definitely spent some energy around imposter syndrome and trying to, push through that and push through some money thresholds inside the agency. And yeah.
You're not alone there, my friend. I think anybody in our industry anybody in the world has battled with imposter syndrome. It's a human nature, and we all struggle with it. So you're not unique there, if that's any consolation for you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Kirstin, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your time and experience and sharing it so freely on Agency Bytes with us.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. I love the pod, and I love the work you're doing, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Likewise. Thank you again.
Thanks. See ya.
Thanks again for tuning in to Agency Bytes. If you know someone with expert knowledge on a topic that agency owners would love to hear about, go to agencyoutsight.com/podcast-guest and nominate them.